Captain's log, stardate 21802.5. Our first day in the alternate reality has come and gone. We've had 2 engagements with the Romulan military, both moderately successful. However, our last engagement has me somewhat baffled. As if like a ghost from our past, the first vessel to reach Warp 5, the Enterprise, heavily modified and upgraded, came with a small fleet to our rescue. Without the assistance from the Enterprise and her fleet, I'm afraid that I wouldn't have been able to make this log. I look forward to meeting Admiral Sato and seeing how this universe's Enterprise faces against what we knew of our Enterprise. And maybe, just maybe, they can help the people of this Earth. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Jamestown. Its continuing mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations. To boldly go where no one has gone before. This should be a rather interesting evening.
Is this uniform necessary? It's so restricting.
Jack, you are a guest of the Federation. Besides, I would have figured a hot shower and a change of clothes would do you good.
Appreciated. However, they're more like pajamas than anything. Give me a pair of blue jeans any day.
Blue jeans.
Denim material typically colored blue. You know, blue jeans.
I'll take your word for it.
The transporter system is ready, Captain. The Enterprise is awaiting our transport.
You compensated for their level of transporter technology.
Aye, Captain. Our pattern buffer will temporarily grant the beaming party several seconds upon arrival before sending the next pattern through. Not a very long time, but necessary in order to not cause a cascading overload in their transporter systems.
Long time to be stuck in the pattern buffer.
I assure you, Captain, it will be perfectly safe.
Am I the only one around here that knows how to make a joke every now and then?
Considering what you've seen and been through the past few days?
Good point. Ready?
You say this process is perfectly safe? Being pulled apart molecule by molecule and being reassembled somewhere else?
We've been safely using the transporter system for well over a century now. We do from time to time have interesting things happen with the transporters, but 9 times out of 10 the transporter is the safest way to travel.
Now why do I get the feeling that you are completely exaggerating that estimate?
Just get on the pad, Jack.
Very well, Captain.
Ready when you are, Chief.
Welcome aboard the Enterprise, Captain. If you'll please disembark the pad.
Of course.
I am never going to get used to that feeling, Captain.
Give it time.
Welcome aboard the Enterprise. I appreciate your accepting my invitation to dinner and that we may speak of developments here on Earth.
It was our pleasure, Admiral.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Indeed. I look forward to discussing how we may now have a chance to finally drive the Romulans back from the Sol system and retake Earth as our own.
Your Enterprise is significantly larger than what our Enterprise looks like, Admiral.
We have refitted Enterprise several times, tightened up a few empty spaces, even converted one of our cargo bays into a shield generator room, even expanded the bridge compartment to turn it more into a combat information center.
So, Enterprise is a mobile command station?
From the CIC, I can coordinate every ship in the fleet.
I take it that you have more than just these 5 ships.
We have a small fleet, 15 ships. Enterprise isn't the most powerful, but she was the first.
You're using Enterprise as a symbol.
More along the lines of sentiment. There have been talks about scrapping Enterprise and use the spare parts to create a more powerful vessel.
Sometimes powerful isn't the best response. For a long time, the resistance movement operated out of what was once called the White House. It may not have been the most strategically safe place, but it did for a small time boost our numbers and our morale.
So you can understand why I've insisted that whenever we have the chance, we refit Enterprise as often as we can. Ah, here we are. Captain's mess.
Will the captain be joining us?
I'm afraid Captain Mayweather will not be able to attend. He has matters to attend to down in Cargo Bay 2.
I hope everything is all right.
Oh, things are perfectly fine. The captain and the chief engineer have an odd pastime that they indulge in.
Don't tell me. Zero-G line dancing.
You encourage this kind of immaturity in your officers, Captain?
Jack isn't part of my crew. He's the leader of one of the resistance cells on Earth and clearly doesn't have a bone of professionalism in his body.
Hey, it's always worked for me.
I see.
I apologize for his conduct. Rather, his lack thereof.
It's like I'm not even here. Remind me again, why am I here?
We'll find that out specifically.
Please, take a seat.
So, what exactly is Enterprise and this fleet doing here, Admiral? If I assume correctly, this was not your intended destination.
Patience, Captain. We'll get to that shortly.
You'll forgive me, Admiral, if patience is something I'm lacking. My first officer would say the same thing.
I'm still getting used to the idea of your first officer as a Vulcan.
He gets the job done, and he keeps me in line when it comes to certain situations. In fact, it was he who suggested that we not interfere at all.
Well, Captain, I'm glad you decided to ignore him.
I didn't ignore him, Jack. I listened to him and weighed the options of inaction versus action. And I couldn't sit idly by and watch innocent people be killed for no reason. Besides, we needed information and we clearly were not going to get that from the Romulans.
The Romulans certainly don't indulge in talking to anyone they consider as alien. If you aren't Romulan or Vulcan, you are a subspecies, and open to conquer.
You see, in our universe, the Romulans we know are more suspicious and tend to observe from a distance. It's the Klingons who are all about war and conquest.
Well, don't count on the Klingons to come to your rescue, Captain. They're beaten back as much as we are currently. Our last intelligence report stated that the Klingons were only just recently driven off Kronos.
That means that the Klingons must be teetering on the edge of annihilation.
Correct. However, they are giving the Romulans a tough time at victory.
Cloaking devices?
Cloaking devices. It's a pity we haven't been able to get that particular technology to work with antimatter power devices.
We've had some partial success. One of our ships, the Defiant, was equipped with one. However, it was such a massive power drain that we eventually agreed to pull it off the ship.
Unfortunately, Enterprise isn't able to generate enough power, even for an older style cloaking device.
Why use it in the first place? Cloak and Daggers never won a war in space.
Explain how the Romulans beat us back then.
Archer was a coward! Fleeing when he should have fought to the death.
Admiral Archer was the furthest thing from a coward, Jack. He wanted to stay, but the lives of all civilians came first.
Admiral, Jack, can we keep this civilized? Clearly there will be differences of opinion, but we are all stuck in the same boat.
Very well, Captain.
My apologies.
So, what exactly is our situation?
We're outnumbered, outgunned. However, with your ship, we might just have a chance.
A chance?
You have fought off several Romulan ships.
We got lucky.
What I saw wasn't luck. What I saw was a technological marvel in the hands of a capable battle commander.
The Jamestown is not a ship of war, Admiral. It is a ship of peace and exploration. You cannot expect us to fight a war for you. Beside you, I can consider, but for you? I'm sorry, but that is not within my power.
And that is precisely what I'm asking, Captain. Help us. With the Jamestown patrolling the Sol system, we would have an early warning against any Romulan attackers.
I find myself agreeing with Admiral Sato, Captain. Jamestown could in fact tip the balance of power in the system. Up until now, we've been considered nothing but dirt to be walked on by the Romulans.
My crew and I did not sign on to be dragged into a war. This isn't their home. I can't force them to do anything that could mean their lives being lost.
I can sympathize, Captain.
That being said, I can ask them. Make it voluntary rather than an order.
Do you think many will volunteer?
I honestly don't know. This literally was our first mission together. With the exception of the construction battalion, the Jamestown crew is brand new.
You have a construction battalion aboard your ship?
Correct. And enough raw material to build an orbital outpost and a planetary colony.
I can't believe it.
Our original assignment was to establish a permanent colony in the Delta Quadrant. The method of warp travel we were using to get to the Delta Quadrant was highly experimental. Something went wrong, and we found ourselves trapped here. Unfortunately, our experimental drive no longer works. Otherwise, we would have tried to get back to our own universe.
So in either event, you're stuck here, with nowhere to run or hide. You need friends, Captain.
Admiral, don't get me wrong. I want to help, but as I said, I cannot and will not force people to fight for something they have no business fighting for. I can't even imagine what the Romulan members of my crew will say.
You have Romulans aboard your ship?
Before you overreact, Admiral, they have been vetted by Captain Kennedy and her Starfleet Command.
You'll have to forgive my skepticism, Captain, but here, Romulans aren't to be trusted.
We're getting off track, Admiral. You were going to suggest something?
Correct. Captain, if you were to patrol the solar system, keep the Romulans at bay, you could put that construction battalion to work.
The construction battalion?
Correct. From what you have told me about your people and technology, could you get a functioning construction yard and defenses in place?
It is an idea. It would help you in fortifying the system, but building a functioning, defendable construction yard would take a little bit of time.
How much time?
The estimate I got for the outpost for our original mission was roughly a week.
A week? Can we hold the system for that long? Is that even possible?
Well, a standard Federation construction yard is significantly more open, needing less space, though more automation.
It sounds like the time frame will be significantly lowered.
To know that precisely, I'll need to speak to the construction battalion's commander.
I completely understand, Captain. Now, enough about business. Let's eat, shall we?
The fleet was ambushed. How could you lose an entire system fleet?
We were outgunned, Praetor. The ship that disabled mine disabled...
I do not care for your excuses.
Praetor, I beg of you. A larger fleet may be able to...
It is already being arranged. You have one more chance, Captain. I do not tolerate failures of this magnitude.
Perhaps the new ship we encountered had help from the dissidents on the surface.
If that is the case, the planet must be purged. We cannot afford to let our grip on the Empire start to slip from us.
Purge the planet? But Praetor, there are billions of Romulan citizens on the surface of the planet.
Unfortunate but necessary sacrifices. All on the road to our glorious galactic expansion.
We aren't going to attempt to evacuate them before the purging?
We don't have the time. Our spies inform us that the Cardassians and Klingons have been discussing a joint task mission in an attempt to push us away from the Cardassian homeworld. We cannot let this joint strike mission begin.
Do we have some sort of time frame for when the joint strike mission will begin?
The Tal Shiar has been rather unproductive in that matter. However, I have been assured that they are working to find an exact date.
And as for the Terran homeworld?
Assemble the 13th and 20th Fleet. Have the 13th equipped with purge weapons.
Praetor, the new ship has allies. I need more ships.
You will do the task with the ships I give you. You can't destroy a fleet of antiquated ships with 20 vessels under your command?
The Terrans have built a battleship, Praetor. It has formidable weapons and armor. Our ships are disabled easily under their firepower.
You will complete the task with what you have been given, and nothing more. If you retreat again, or fail to purge the planet, you will not return to the Empire. You will be labeled as a failure and banished. Is that understood, Captain?
I understand, Praetor.
Now, get out of my sight.
Do you think Imran can pull it off?
Imran is headstrong. However, I will not deny that Imran does have a high rate of success in his military campaigns.
And your ultimatum?
He allowed himself to be driven away from his post and cost me a dilithium moon and mine. Expensive losses to the Empire. He fails again, he will not return to the Empire, and he will be on his own.
I do need to ask, why will you not evacuate Terra?
I have no more interest in that penal planet. The Romulan people on that planet were sent there to be a workforce.
They were all condemned?
Not all, but several 100 million were all found guilty of some sort of crime to the Empire. The labor force there is no longer of any use now.
Shall no attempt be made to retake the planet from the Terran fleet?
I would rather see the world burn and shatter into the cosmos than see it return into the hands of the Terrans.
As you wish, Praetor. And now I must return to my assignment. As you said, the Tal Shiar are working to discover when the Cardassians and Klingons plan to strike.
Of course, Inquisitor Natalis. Jolan True.
Jolan True, Praetor.
Chief, wasn't expecting to see you come into my humble establishment.
Taking a small break. Most of the work is done. McGrath is handling the rest.
I see. So we'll be on our way shortly then?
We'll be able to warp all right. But where to? That's another story.
I guess being trapped in an alternate reality can present a bit of an issue with the destination.
I'll still feel safer knowing we can get away if we need to.
Well, best not to think too hard on it. Scotch, as always?
How'd you guess?
Ever since Tenford was built and functional on this ship, you've come consistently to this place and ordered a Scotch with ice every single time.
Well, I can't drink anything else, Krista. It's the only thing behind your counter that has a bite.
Just don't tell the captain I carry non-synthahol beverages, and I won't tell a soul.
It's a deal.
Well, I'll be. This is a first.
First?
We've had Romulan officers aboard the ship for as long as I can remember. They've kept to themselves until now.
What? You mean they don't come in here to have a drink?
I honestly was beginning to think that they didn't eat or drink.
Well, let's not waste this opportunity. Shall we go give our Romulan comrades a warm welcome?
I just happen to have some Romulan ale tucked away for such an occasion.
So, Captain, do we have an understanding?
As I've said several times, Admiral, I shall discuss this with my first officer and crew. However, I am in full agreement. We can't just leave, and we certainly can't surrender.
Coming from a resistance point of view, we have a chance. It's a small one, but it's a chance.
And with the proposed plan, thanks to your conflict in the Dominion War, we now have an effective plan to hold off the Romulans and possibly rebuild.
Admiral, it will take time. Can your fleet do it?
As soon as you've returned to your vessel, I shall be contacting the rest of my fleet. They're stationed just outside the solar system.
Bridge to Admiral Sato.
Sato here. Go ahead.
Admiral, we just received word from the fleet station outside the solar system. They have engaged and destroyed a Romulan Scout vessel.
That doesn't seem to be much of a problem.
Don't count your stars yet, Admiral.
Jack, what is it?
Scout vessels are rarely ever used in Romulan tactics. We've only seen 5 instances in our history of scout vessels being used.
Why do I get the feeling I'm not going to like this?
Scout vessels are typically an early warning sign to planets to begin evacuation procedures.
Evacuation? Why would
You can't be suggesting... But why?
Admiral, recall your fleet and have them set up a defensive posture around Earth.
You heard that, Ensign.
Aye, Admiral. Recall order going out.
Can someone please explain to me what is happening?
Jack will explain. You must return to your ship immediately, Captain, and await my orders.
Admiral, I must insist.
Captain, there is no time. Please go.
We need to go, Captain. I'll explain on the way.
Jack, just what in the blazes is going on here?
The Romulans are sending a purge fleet to Earth, Captain.
What is a purge fleet?
They're usually 20 ships strong, accompanied by a single scout ship. They're typically armed with weapons that literally carve their way into the planet's core, causing a reaction inside it to destroy the planet.
They're going to destroy the planet?
They're certainly going to try, Captain.
But there isn't a need. Why murder so many people?
It's a simple solution to stop the seeds of rebellion. Stamp it out before it even becomes a problem.
Kennedy to Jamestown.
Jamestown here, Captain.
Commander, take the ship to Yellow Alert. We are beaming back. Senior staff to assemble in the conference room immediately.
Understood, Captain.
Kennedy out.
I'll warn you now, Captain. The chances of defeating a purge fleet are extremely low.
In the past, maybe, but not this time.
And why is that, Captain?
You have the Jamestown.
Captain, welcome back.
Everyone, please take your seats. I have some things we need to discuss.
For one, why are we at Yellow Alert?
Jack, you have the floor on that one, as it is our immediate concern.
Thank you, Captain. Approximately 10 minutes ago, the fleet under Admiral Sato engaged and destroyed a Romulan scout vessel.
One less enemy to deal with. Big deal.
It is a big deal, Shran. Scout vessels are only used in planet purging operations.
Planet purging?
When the seeds of rebellion have begun to show themselves, a purge fleet is assembled with a single purpose: the complete destruction of our planet.
What? How can they?
But the people!
I don't believe it.
Everyone, calm down now. You are letting your emotions get the better of you.
And how can you not? You unkind, uncaring, green-blooded son of a...
Shran, enough.
But Captain!
I said enough. Now sit down and shut up.
Yes, sir.
Jack, please continue.
Purge fleets are typically heavily armed, just in case they meet resistance that could cause damage to the purge ships.
What class of ship are the purge ships?
We've never given it an official designation. However, your ship has it designated. The Firebat.
The Firebat? Captain, if we're facing a Firebat, we're heavily outgunned.
Tactical capabilities.
If you were to compare the vessel to another, I'd put it on the same level as a Dominion dreadnought.
The Purge vessel is equipped with several plasma torpedo launchers, over 24 disruptor cannons, and a single forward-mounted anti-proton cutter.
I'm assuming that's how they destroy the planet.
Correct. While the rest of the fleet engages whatever resistance they encounter, the Firebat will literally slug its way on a single course towards the target. Once the target is within 100,000 kilometers, the Firebat will begin to charge its anti-proton cutter. The charging time will take approximately 5 minutes. At 50,000 kilometers, the Firebat will stop and unleash the anti-proton cannon at the planet. The cutter will literally slice its way through the crust, mantle, outer core, and intercore. The cutting process will take 2 minutes. If the Firebat manages to fire, we will have 1.5 minutes to stop the Firebat before we have to pull back.
An anti-proton explosion would collapse subspace in the solar system for half a century. Anything caught inside that blast will be disabled instantly.
Firebat is what I like to call a tank. She moves slow, handles like an asteroid, and is armed to the teeth with weapons.
It's known to be one of the heaviest ships in the Romulan fleet.
I wasn't done. While all this is true, because she is so slow, she makes an easier target to hit. If Admiral Sato and his fleet can keep the rest of the Romulans busy, Jamestown can maneuver into a good firing position to target the Firebat's secondary optronic generators on the lower section.
What will that do?
That particular generator section powers many of the Firebat's shield generators. If we can knock those out, we can do some damage.
If the Firebat's shields are as tough as you say, how will we knock out the generators?
It won't be easy. And we won't be able to do it from the outside. If we use Tachin pulses in close proximity to the Firebat, we can force them to rotate their shield harmonics, allowing us time to beam a small strike force aboard it.
The strike team would need to be heavily armed. A Firebat is crewed by well over 2,000 soldiers.
Sounds like we'll need to use the hazard team.
Hazard team, Captain?
What I'm about to tell you has been considered to be classified by Starfleet Command. During our 7 years in the Delta Quadrant, Captain Janeway authorized the use of a hazard team. A team of strictly combat personnel, heavily armed and cross-trained in multiple divisions of Starfleet.
It sounds like they were purely soldiers.
In the Delta Quadrant, you sometimes needed them in order to handle the more dangerous assignments. We have aboard a hazard team. However, they were not to be used unless an emergency cropped up.
I assume my replacement is going to be needed then?
If this plan is to work, we're going to need your team, Lieutenant.
My team can beam aboard the Firebat and plant spatial explosives on the optronic distribution hub on the lower levels. The problem is, once we've blown the hub, the Romulans will come down on us like bees to honey.
We'll be sure to knock out their shields and beam you out of there as soon as possible.
Take your time, we'll be sure to have some fun.
Once the shields are down, we can do one of two things. Destroy the Firebat or disable it.
If we were to disable the Firebat, we could possibly recapture the vessel and use it to protect Earth.
I was thinking the same. Disable the life support system and they'll evacuate. Seeing as the distribution hub also links to the self-destruct mechanism, they can't do much about it. Short of overloading the Singularity core, but that'd be just as futile as it simply would leave the ship underpowered rather than destroy it.
Sounds like we have a plan.
Commander, begin bringing hazard operations online. Wiseman, contact Admiral Sato and inform him of the plan. Zell, begin preparations to fire tachyon pulses into the Firebat shield system. Dismissed.
You have been listening to Star Trek Lost Universe, Episode 3, Choices, written and directed by Jeffrey Lincoln. Featured in the cast were Silas Carter as Captain Felicia Kennedy, Miles Rand as Commander Plakar, Chloe Hatherley as Lieutenant Commander Sophia Wiseman, Laurie Smith as Lieutenant Commander Ashley Scott, Lana as Ambassador Rate, Jeffrey Lincoln as Lieutenant Kolar Sharan, Justin Cabanting as Dr. O'Connor, Aaron McDonald as Lieutenant Commander Karina Zell, Corey Hilton as Jack, Mark Allen as Admiral Sato, Eric Holt as Engineer McGrath, Stacy Kramer as Krista, Joe Harrison as Praetor Latant, and Daniel Pastel as Captain Immoren. Star Trek is copyright to CBS and Paramount Pictures. Any infringing claims are unintended, including but not limited to music and sound effects. This non-profit fan production is created for the enjoyment of the fans. Star Trek Lost Universe will continue in Episode 4, Firebat, coming soon to StarForce Media.